Hey guys, if you like my content, hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Esports Money, ZSM, Mac10, whatever you want to call me, and today we're doing something a little bit different. This is not a Dota video. This is my rant about the Creation Club, and my friend Ben here, also known as Subscript, who is an Overwatch and Dark Souls player. Has played all the Bethesda games, not a big Bethesda game fan, but has played all of them. Today I'm introducing him to the wonder that is the motherfucking Creation Club. So, this is the Creation Club. So, these Bethesda fun tokens, these 400, that's at $4. Each of those is considered a penny. And here's the deal. It's not like Krista, the currency used in Final Fantasy XIV, or the other fake currencies that a lot of games will have, or Steam Bucks. They only let you buy it in specific increments. And you can only buy it in increments of, I think, 750. So if something's 800, you fucked.
Sounds about right. That's about what they were doing with Microsoft points for a long time, too, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Microsoft didn't have a title that was good enough to hold down a fan base. Like, the fact that they're doing this, and the fact that they're integrating this... Oh, and they give me 100! They gave me 100! Oh, they gave me a free copy of Survival Mode. That's nice. They got... Buy now. For $0. I buy survival mode. I'm probably gonna have... Oh, of course it's installed. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So each of these fucking mods are installed to your game by default. You already have all of these things on your game already. They're already in your game files. All of these mods. You've already downloaded them. Just by having the game connected through Steam, it downloads all this shit automatically. It's giving you another 10 to 20 gigs of shit.
Yep.
And then to use the files it's installed on your computer without permission, it wants you to pay it for the privilege.
Does it come with McAfee?
I wish.
Damn well should.
Does it come with McAfee? No, it doesn't matter though, because no one's going to want to steal your shit after this, because you won't have anything left. Alright, so let's go with, Oh yeah, so this is survival mode, which has been available in some form, probably a better form, since Skyrim came out in like 2011. Mm-hmm. So there have been mods for this forever. So how do we get back? Okay, so we have the Divine Crusader. This is from the Knights of the Nine DLC from Oblivion. And for $5, you get a single quest that gives you this. And the thing is, you remember when paid mods came out in like 2011 or 2012? And there was a huge fucking, like, outpour from the community, and Steam was like, we're so sorry, we're stopping this. Mm-hmm. Steam has nothing to do with this. Valve is not getting their hands anywhere near this shit. And back then, I mean, people were, like, selling, like, I put an apple on the table and it was $30. Today, the whole thing about this was a vetting process, and the fact that they pay the people ahead of time, so that when you're buying this shit, you are not supporting the developer at all. You're supporting the publisher, Bethesda. You're not supporting the guy that made this shit. He's already been paid as much as he can make. So by telling you guys not to fucking buy this shit, I am not taking money out of anybody's pockets except for Bethesda as a company. And I mean, it's so ridiculous that they want $5 for something like this when you can get I think the original, like the launch price of the most expensive DLC for any of their games is like $20. So for 4 times that amount of money, you get a close to a AAA size game. Their DLCs have been great. And one of the things that everyone was talking about and that they were swearing up and down would be the case is that it would be content that is respectable, that is worth the money, that is large in size. And this stuff looks pretty bad. This is actually better than when it launched a week ago. They opened up with, let's go, we got apparel, creatures, gameplay, weapons. Okay, $3 to have a fucking sword in my game? Are you serious? We got Stendarr's Hammer, which I'm pretty sure was already in the game. Staff of Sheogorath. Ruin's Edge, which is a bow from Oblivion, I want to say.
What's the core game going for right now?
The core game?
Yeah.
I want to say about $30. I'm gonna check. I want to say the game is currently $30. Skyrim Special Edition. View Community Hub.
So I can either buy a full game or buy 6 swords for the same price. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, and so the current No, it's $40 for Skyrim Special Edition, but I think that does include all of the DLC. Does that include the DLC? Yeah. Okay, yeah, it does have the DLC, I'm pretty sure. Let me look in the screenshots, because I'm sure they'll include something. I'm pretty sure that includes the DLC, and if that includes the DLC, then $40 for that, even today, is respectable. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that's not horrible.
No, but I think the Creation Club is also integrated with the original version of Skyrim now, too, not just the Special Edition. And Special Editions actually ran through DirectX 11, not DirectX 9. So, milking the dead cow to death, they're still giving you something that's different from the core game when you buy Skyrim Special Edition because it's running through a different graphics API. So, they claim the game looks better and it doesn't look as good as the original game with crazy mods, but the potential to make the game look insanely good is there with Special Edition because it's in a new engine. It's in the same engine as Fallout 4 and pretty much all your modern games. But in that vein, so yeah, the Dawnguard and the Dragonborn expansions are $20 a pop, and I'm gonna double check this. I'm pretty sure this comes with, includes the critically acclaimed game and all add-ons. Okay. And if you owned the original copy of the game when this came out, even if you didn't have all the add-ons, they gave you Special Edition with all the add-ons. I noticed that because there's one piece of DLC I never bought. So, added microtransactions and a paid survival mode to a 6-year-old game. Ridiculous. Play Skyrim like the mods. Bethesda, hello fellow gamers, I see you like mods. Want to buy these mods that fell off the back of a truck? Buy the original version instead if you plan to use any mods whatsoever. Yeah, they make a very good point. So if there's no Creation Club in the original version of the game, which means you can play without being bombarded by this, there are actual mods on the Nexus now that remove this from bothering you. The problem I have with this shit is it's making me look at... There should never... I have a million problems with it. The first problem I have with this is I think it's really annoying, and honestly, I'm a big enough fanboy that if this were done well enough, and if I saw $5 for something that was a third the size of a $15 DLC, that was made by Bethesda with professional voice acting and done correctly, I would fucking buy it in a heartbeat. I agree with that. 100%. I'd be so excited about this. And when I first heard about this, I was super fucking skeptical, and I thought to myself, if this is done correctly, this will breathe new life into... Okay, well, I mean, the game is 6 years fucking old, and they keep milking it to death. But I would be happy with that as an Elder Scrolls fan. But you're giving shit content that is worse than a lot of the things you can get for free. Enderall, gigantic standalone game, doesn't require a penny to play. More Oblivion, Skywind, all these things coming out do not require any money to play. You just have to own these base games.
Well, maybe this opens up a mod world to people that would otherwise not be comfortable doing so. You know, not everyone wants to go to Nexus for a website that is not, owned or
the problem is company, the problem here, and you have a point because I'm pretty sure
you're going to pay out the ass for it clearly when you can get all of this.
Well, PS4, and they advertise that this is more polished and safer and more straightforward than any Nexus mod stuff, but the quality of it isn't that good.
Right.
It's not as good as what you'd expect to be making, what you'd expect Bethesda to make. It doesn't work as nicely as you would expect something that Bethesda produces off the bat. And that's actually saying a lot because Bethesda generally produces really buggy shit.
It should all be AAA production style. Yeah. If it's especially
especially if it's $5 for a fucking suit of Templar armor.
That's the best.
No, it's not the best. I'm looking for the where's the mud crab armor? There's one that you buy that will put like armor on mud crabs. Gold Dwemer armor. It's like $7 or some shit. Jesus. Now your mud crabs have Dwemer armor. Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty sure I'd rather take up smoking, and I'm pretty sure smoking a pack of cigarettes is a more productive thing to do. Don't smoke, kids. But I'm pretty sure it's it makes about as much sense here. Where is the mudcrab armor? They might have got rid of it because everyone was so fucking mad about it. So let me make you guys a long list of problems with this. The first problem I have with this is, since it's poorly done, there is no reason that this should be here, which means this is taking up additional space on your hard drive without your fucking permission. Alright, let me finish the last good part. The last good part of this, and probably the only good part, is it's a way to get additional content if you play on PS4. I think Xbox One actually has mod support for real mods. So, and I might be wrong about that, I don't know, because I don't fuck around with consoles, but that's the only potential positive of this. Now, all of the negatives. So first of all, you got all the data. Second, when you have all of that data coming through, and no patch that Bethesda is releasing is going to fix any of the game-breaking bugs that have existed in there. I mean, all of their games always have game-breaking bugs because that's the way they build their games. That's the way the engines that they use work, because they want to make things as large and flexible as possible. And I accept that, but when you're not giving me anything else, and you're forcing me to download more data, and you're bombarding me with ads while I'm playing the game, this is the normalization of advertisements for DLC to be popping up during a game that you already paid $60 for. And this is not EA, fuck EA, this is actually Bethesda. This is a company that's had the goodwill of a lot of people, I think, for a very long time. So that's a problem. And this is ultimately the ultimate thing about this that is so terrible, is that since the revolution of Steam, since the rise of Steam, there has been any reason, like, I have been dissuaded from pirating things for a very long time, because I look at Steam and I go, I can get a solid product for like $20. I can wait till the game's on sale, or I can spend all of my money. I know I always have it. I know I have all the game files. I know I'll never run into any sketchy viruses, any hacks. Now I look at this and I go, I could just hit up Skid Row, get a copy of the game DRM free, know exactly how big that game is, get it with all the DLC, and then I can play my pirated copy without ever downloading additional data, without being bombarded with advertisements, and you will probably see a world where you have to use a hacked copy of a game, whether or not you decided to buy it, in order to avoid this sort of shit, these sort of ads in the future. It's absolutely absurd. It's terrible. And Fallout 4 is the same fucking way now. And it makes me, when these games come to VR, that's one of the reasons they're bringing these games to VR. That's one of the reasons they're bringing these games to the Switch. Because they found a way to sell something that they've already sold everyone. They've already sold all these games a million times. If you can find a way to create a continuous monetization of them, like some way to have a steady flow of cash coming from these games.
Yep.
And they look at this and they go, it's a huge cash cow, because we have 3 of the top 20 most played games on Steam, and 2 of them, because Skyrim Special Edition and Skyrim are listed separately, together they're both in the top 20 on Steam. And we're talking, cumulatively, that's a game that came out in November 11th of 2011, so yeah, we got 6 years in a month, guys. And then Fallout 4 is 2 years old this fall, I want to say. I think Fallout 4 is 2 years old this fall? Yeah, 2 years old this fall. So you have a 2-year-old game that you're milking the shit out of, which, it's fine, it's 2 years. A 6-year-old title that you're trying... You have 6-year-old food that you're trying to feed me and say this is fresh memes.
Click on some of this garbage here.
Like,
I want to see a description.
The Ruin's Edge, wield this deadly bow, favorite weapon of Syl, the Duchess of Dementia. It's from
For the low price of $4.
Yep, it's from the Shivering Isles expansion in Oblivion.
Oh man.
I'm really happy that that nobody plays Oblivion anymore, because that game will be safe from this.
I was about to say it'll be infected just the same way everyone does.
It's like, it's all part of this sort of like plasticization of retrieve valuable mort flesh. Creature creations appear at night in certain locations in the world and through a quest. I mean, this looks like it could be okay.
Bombs?
Yeah, this looks like it could be okay if there's like some like quest or something associated with it. I mean, this doesn't look like bad content. The problem is it looks like this should be $1.
I was about to say, it just looks expensive.
It looks like this should be $1. I mean, I don't even have
that's the equivalent of one quest, and you're paying $40 for the whole game with the DLC. It would be the same as having a 10-quest game.
Yeah.
Value-wise. That's ridiculous.
I mean, and the problem is, I'm really glad that this is so terrible because this is fucking insidious. I was really scared that when they came out with the Creation Club, I was scared and excited because I expected when the Creation Club to come out, I expected that we would get we'd get some really, really, really good content. Like, we'd get, like, DLC-size shit for the price of DLC-size shit. I was really expecting that to be the case when the Creation Club was announced at first. And then I was expecting the quality to decline and the price to go up because Bethesda had lured us in, so to speak. I was expecting them to try to build goodwill here and then cash in on it in the coming months. They're not doing that. They're already cashing in on whatever piece of goodwill they have left. I mean, this Plague of the Dead looks okay. It looks like it would be a interesting thing to have in my game if I couldn't get better content for free off the Nexus and it were $1. Like, if this were $1, I'd consider it. But you're trying to charge me $4 for something that $1 is dubious. And you can't let me pay. So, oh yeah, they also said, so, do you, does it cost money? No, it doesn't cost money, it costs credits. The credits you buy for $0.01 a pop. And you can only buy them in specific fucking amounts.
So where does this money go? Where do these credits go?
They're tied to your Steam account.
Okay.
As is Bethesda.
And they go straight to Bethesda, not to a developer, not to anyone that created any of this content in general. Is that true? Do we know that?
Oh no, they've confirmed that for a fact. Because what
so
Bethesda,
there's some flat rate that the developers are getting paid for?
Well, what the developers do is they make an agreement, they hit up Bethesda and they get approved to be an official creator, and then for a specific mod, they show Bethesda they tell Bethesda what they want to make, how long it will take to make it, and the scope of what they're making. And Bethesda says, we'll give you this much money total for that mod, and we'll give you this percentage of it when you can show us this much of the project done. And then when it's done completely, the modders get the amount of money that they agreed to, assuming that they did everything in an orderly fashion, and then Bethesda sells that product. I would assume that there's something legally where if they don't finish the mod, then Bethesda doesn't sell it, or Bethesda gives it to somebody else, but I think the one thing I will say is I think Bethesda is doing right by these creators right now because though they're probably not paying them near what it's worth, they at least guarantee the money, and the artists and the designers and the programmers that put this stuff together are not taking a risk because Bethesda, contract in stone, will give you this for mod. But, I mean, really think about it, like, I almost feel like Bethesda's limiting the creativity of the people that are doing this because there are some incredible modders out there that I would love to see. I would love if the Skyrim people came to Bethesda, and I mean it'd be really fucked up now because everyone's already expected to come out for free. But if you could give me 100% Skywind completed AAA polished tomorrow and said $60, I'd buy it immediately. Like, I'm not going to need to because it's going to be free and community made, but there are people out there making this level of quality in their mods for free, and I'd love to see them get hired to make some content. So maybe there wasn't a plan, maybe they hadn't recruited people for the Creation Club. I think a lot of this was made in-house already. Maybe in the next few months we'll start to see decent mods being sold in the Creation Club, but that's also a problem because we're going to see this competing with the Nexus. We're going to see content that would have otherwise been free locked behind a paywall. Eventually that will happen. I still think that the absolute creme de la creme of content will be free, but I'm also really, really suspicious that in the next Elder Scrolls game, for example, or the next Fallout game, but it will be in Elder Scrolls, we won't see a world editor. We won't see free mods at all. We won't see mods.
That would be very sad.
We won't see mods as something the community can do. And granted, Bethesda's engine is about as flimsy as, like, I don't know, a tissue. So someone will figure out a way to make a world editor. But it's still surprising. They're trying to milk this so hard, and Bethesda's not a company that's been high on goodwill lately. Bethesda's not a company that's Bethesda and Blizzard are both companies that, over the last 6 or 7 years, have been progressively falling off in terms of the way the communities around their games feel about them. I think Blizzard probably more so than Bethesda, up until this shit. Valve too, but not nearly as much. Valve everyone's a little bit mad at, but they're still the best. But so, all of this just culminates in what I call the plasticization of Bethesda. It's just, Bethesda gets every single game they make is designed to be, it's designed to have better grinding mechanics that incentivizes you to continue to mindlessly play the game while cutting out anything about it that doesn't have to do with the grind. The combat of Skyrim is the best of any Elder Scrolls game for most players, and the only other game that can compete with it's Oblivion, because Morrowind's combat's bad. But everything else about the game is worse. It is full voice compared to Morrowind. The only thing that Skyrim really has that makes it better is voice acting, which Oblivion had. But Oblivion's graphics, Oblivion's art style is horrendous. There's a level of flexibility. You could craft spells that did literally anything that you could imagine you could pretty much do with the spell system and just make your own spells in Morrowind. And in Oblivion, they had a similar system despite the fact that they removed the levitate skill, but they kept acrobatics. When Skyrim came around, there's no acrobatic skill. Everybody jumped the same distance. There's no reason to play a Khajiit when you're just you're weaker than everyone, and now you can't jump higher than everyone. You could visibly jump higher than everyone around you if you had that skill leveled in Morrowind and Oblivion. Doesn't happen in Skyrim. Fallout 3 was a great story. They pulled in Liam Neeson to do some voice acting. The game was well done. Obsidian came around in 2009, and I think made probably the most interesting story, the most interesting game published by Bethesda in recent years, and maybe ever. It's, in retrospect, Fallout New Vegas, from a narrative perspective and a gameplay perspective, might be better than Morrowind. Fallout New Vegas is one of the best games ever made. But between the lessons that New Vegas taught, which they Bethesda let Obsidian publish, or let Obsidian make and then they published, and what they learned with Fallout 3, they dumbed that shit down even further into making dialogue choices in Fallout 4 that don't exist. There is absolutely no flexibility in the story in Fallout 4. You have about 3 different choices. You have 3 different endings, essentially, and there's a bunch of different combination variables in there, but it's basically 3 main endings, and those endings you can diverge down very, very late. So you can see all of the content, except for the absolute ending, in a single playthrough. Except for the final scene of the other 2 factions, depending on who you choose. It's just shit. The gameplay, though, is fantastic. The gunplay is awesome. I can't wait to play it in VR because it shoots like Doom. It shoots like the gun mechanics of the most recent Fallout are better than any Call of Duty I've played in recent years, which is great. But you're making the game more plastic. You're making the grind more fun so that people will play this shit more and keep making mods for it, but you're dumbing down the narrative. You're dumbing down the choices that the player has to affect the world around him, and you're telling a less compelling story because you want guns to feel better. And Todd Howard actually acknowledged that part about Fallout 4. He says that he feels that the narrative of the game and the choices and the dialogue system of the game is fundamentally flawed and it should be changed. And again, that gives me a little bit of hope because maybe in the future, good old Todd and Pete decide to make another game that I don't expect. I think you're absolutely out of your fucking mind if you ever think that there will be a game that will be released by Bethesda that has the level of depth of Skyrim ever again. And I'm not saying that is Skyrim as a game with a lot of depth.
True.
I am saying that when we look back and we say Skyrim was worse than Oblivion in terms of depth, and Oblivion was worse than Morrowind in terms of depth, and we look at New Vegas and go, this is so much more deep than any of the other Fallout games, and we look at Fallout 3 and go, this is so much better than 4, it's only going to get worse. But I have a sliver of hope because of some of the things Todd Howard has said lately. He does tell a lot of sweet little lies, but I mean, Skyrim doesn't have a lot of depth. Skyrim doesn't have a shitload of flexibility. Skyrim has one ending. Morrowind has one ending. Oblivion has one ending. And there's not a lot of choices that you really make inside factions, whether you're backing specific people or whatnot. Oblivion was way more flexible, and Morrowind was, in order of magnitude, more flexible than either of them. And I still think that in 10 years, there will be people that were my age when I played Morrowind playing Skyrim for the first time, and they'll be saying the same shit about the next Elder Scrolls game, about how much more flexible Skyrim was than the next Elder Scrolls game. We're getting into a territory where the story's going to get dumber and dumber, the dialogue's going to get dumber and dumber, the gameplay and the mechanics and the graphics are going to get better and better and better, and you're just going to get an action game with a thin layer of story overhead. It's basically everything is becoming Doom, except Elder Scrolls games aren't good because of the combat. Nobody plays Elder Scrolls games because they want to learn to parry. Nobody plays. I mean, Fallout shooting is okay, but it's not why you play Fallout. You play Fallout because the world is interesting. You play Fallout because the environment is just, it's insane.
If I'm playing a game for mechanics, it's going to be any of the Dark Souls games. If I'm playing a game...
Exactly.
If I'm playing a game for story, I'm going to replay Final Fantasy X, which I wish would come out 60 frames per second, but that didn't happen.
Might be able to hack
HD
it.
remake, nope. We got the HD remake, and it came. I was really excited. Plays at 30 frames, feels like 15.
Put it on. So, it might work on an emulator at 60, but it might double the speed of the game.
That way, but I got it for the computer, and it ran 30, and it felt like 15. It felt worse than the console. Granted, I haven't played on the console in a long time.
It's got to be locked then if it felt like 15.
It is locked. Apparently, there's some issue with the re-encoding the entire game that is very, very difficult and time-consuming. I'm not familiar, but
I mean, regardless, there have been games that when I want a good story, I enjoy the Elder Scrolls. And the Elder Scrolls, the thing about the Elder Scrolls I think that's really unique, and the thing they've done well is A, the mods, of course, but B, they create, as long as the mechanics of moving and fighting aren't terrible and don't interrupt you, they create a very good world to explore. Exploration, I think, like all the games we're talking about, Dark Souls has objectively a better combat system than Skyrim. I might have lost a couple of subs for that, but I don't give a fuck. Dark Souls has such a better... Which Dark Souls? Doesn't matter. All of them have a better combat system than any of the Elder Scrolls games ever made, because the Elder Scrolls aren't combat games. They're games that are designed to... They have a lot of different things that... Be whoever you want. Do whatever you want. That is the theme of Morrowind. That's what they had in all of the ads for Morrowind. That's what Todd Howard said in all his interviews about Morrowind. But the thing that really makes the Elder Scrolls unique in the RPG world is giving you such an interesting exploration experience.
That's true.
There's every single nook and cranny of the Elder Scrolls games has shit in it. And I would say this really hasn't changed in recent iterations of their games. I don't think Skyrim is any better or worse. It actually might be a little bit better at putting breadcrumbs, putting interesting Easter eggs in all corners.
I had a great time with Skyrim, don't get me wrong. There was just something that was lacking for me. And not to derail you, but what happened to Fable? Did you ever play the Fable games?
I played the first one and a little bit of the second.
The first one was fantastic.
Yeah, the first...
The more evil you become, you start getting a trail behind you.
Yeah, no,
all these different options you could make. I mean... That was an excellent game.
Fable was a game that I thought was thoroughly overhyped, because when it was coming out, people were saying it was going to rival Morrowind and things like that. And when you start playing Fable, it's more linear than a fucking Final Fantasy game. Your environments are almost like narrow. Even your outdoor environments are basically corridors the entire way through the game, and that's... At that period of time,
yes,
it was not...
Exploration-wise, it certainly is.
At that point in time, I think that was unacceptable. I think... When you're in a world where Oblivion's going to be out in a year or two, and you've already got MMOs, and you've got Morrowind that's been out for years with all its expansions and DLC. Actually, they're expansions because we didn't use DLC back then. All of that stuff is just... There's no reason why that should have been so linear. But it was a good game. But the future ones fell apart really quickly. Why? Because Microsoft doesn't know what they're doing when it comes to...
Yep.
They're trying to squeeze every penny out of something, and they end up just killing the bread. They're killing their baby in the process. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The game that I am most excited about this year, by far and away, And, I mean, there's a lot of games I'm really excited about that still are yet to come out this year. Game I'm most excited for is Fallout 4 in VR. No question. And I'm looking at this now and going, when that game comes out, I think it's technically legal for you to pirate something if you bought it. I think it is.
It's a backup.
That's what I'm saying. Because it's like, I know it's legal for you to have the ROM of a game that you own the cartridge for. So I'm thinking to myself, do I buy Fallout 4 VR and then pirate it so that I can chop up the files and mod it, because they're going to try to prevent mods with the VR games when they come out.
Absolutely.
So they can sell you the DLC, and then either way I'm going to have to buy it. Are they going to put the DLC for the game in Creation Club? When I buy it, when I buy the game, do I need to then pirate it so I can prevent Creation Club from popping up in my game? Another thing, why the fuck is Skyrim coming to PC VR after PlayStation VR? Why are they reinventing a game in VR that is this old? Like, I'm excited about it and all, but they're putting it on the PlayStation VR. It's going to be a lower quality experience than the Oculus and the Vive, and when it finally is ported to the Oculus and Vive, if it works correctly, the reputation of that title in VR is already thoroughly fucked. The only reason they're doing it is because Sony cut them a fat-ass check to say, give us an exclusive. Yeah.
For sure.
How long can they continue to milk the same cow? Bethesda made The Elder Scrolls Morrowind, as you can tell based on the background music to this video, is top 2, top 3, maybe the best game I've ever played in my entire life. There's no game that elicits such emotions in me as that game. And they get farther from what made that game great every year. Every year it gets worse. And The Elder Scrolls Online, which is pay once, no monthly fee, and then microtransactions for, you have the choice. If you pay a monthly fee, you have access to all DLC, or you can pay a one-time fee to buy DLC as it comes out. So you have a choice, except for expansions. And they've only had one, I think they've only had one actual expansion that required you to buy it, and if you pay the monthly fee, you still have to buy it. And that's the Morrowind one. Which was an obvious nostalgia grab, but I liked it enough that if I want it, I will buy it at some point. I haven't yet, but the fucked up thing is that The Elder Scrolls Online more closely resembles what makes Bethesda's games good than their actual bread and butter RPGs these days. And that's fucked. They're creating standards in this community that are just, in this business community, in this gaming community, they're just unacceptable. Like, paid mods are back, and there's a huge amount of outcry, and everyone's out there going, why on earth is Bethesda sticking with this when they're getting this much bad press? Yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to cash in a little bit of all their goodwill for a very small profit. And absolutely right. I guarantee if this were the be-all end-all and this were as far as they wanted to go with this, then it'd be done. They wouldn't have done it. They would have pulled it as soon as they got all the hate from it originally. But they want to have this integrated into all of their future games, and they want people to grow up in a world where shit like this is normal, so they don't think twice about buying it later on. They're okay with tanking the outrage so that they can create a new standard of DLC and microtransactions in single-player AAA titles you already paid full price for the rest of fucking time. And if they make a new Elder Scrolls game and announce it's going to be $40, then you should be fucking scared. Because if that's the case, that means they're really banking on a lot of microtransactions. But rest assured, I can guarantee you that Bethesda will never release a game that's not $60.
True.
Except Doom VFR, but that's it, so they're just the publisher on that one. Alright guys, it's been like 35 minutes on this fucking rant. Again, my buddy Ben, Subscript, Dark Souls player.
Good luck, everyone. Enjoy your microtransactions. I'll be playing Dark Souls, and you should too.
And I'll be playing I'll be playing DRM free copies of my favorite Bethesda games from here on out, I think. Unless they actually get some good mods. If they actually really didn't have a plan for this, rolled this out with a few things they had on hand, and have contracts for decent stuff coming through. If in 18 months I come in there and there's something here for $15 that's 75% or larger the size of DLC, I will eat my fucking words.
There will be another video for that.
They will come back. The community will forgive them and be completely fine with this sort of stuff if they fix it, if they come back with good stuff. But I don't fucking think that's happening, and I think they're just going to cash in on goodwill until there's nothing left to cash in on. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.